You know, the older I get and the more I'm around, the more I just kind of realize professional wrestling is really just kind of organized fantasy booking with lighting. And lately, apparently, I've been doing a lot of fantasy booking. And now, before anybody starts to hyperventilate backstage, let me just clarify nobody I'm going to talk about works for me. Not Ridley Thorne, not Kalientita, not Denisse Dae. This is merely just kind of the rambling speculation of an old fool with an unfortunate history of being right. Because I've been here before. I've watched locker rooms ignore greatness because they were too busy chasing the next shiny object. I've watched talent get overlooked because somebody louder was standing in the center of the poster. And I've watched careers change the moment the right manager, emphasis on manager, recognized what everybody else missed. There's a difference, by the way. Some people become ring announcers. I became a ring announcer after already proving I could manage champions. That's a very different resume. Texas Wrestling Reviews, Manager of the Year, Builder of Champions, Collector of Gold, Architect of Moments, and that doesn't disappear because I happen to be holding a microphone this week. Now, I already told you about Ridley Thorne, the sensational savage, the giant slayer, the current big thing in Texas women's wrestling, whether people are comfortable admitting it or not. I've already told you about Spicy Dreams, Kalientita and Denisse Dae, a team with enough charisma, chemistry, and style to make people stop scrolling and actually pay attention again. Beauty, brawn, presence, the kind of presence you cannot train into somebody. You either have it or you spend your whole career pretending that you do. Then a photograph changed everything. Courtesy of TCBTX Photography, whom I highly recommend if you need the best. Mel took the picture right here that I use for all of my branding, and I found myself staring at a picture of two women holding championships. One in particular, and we'll get there, but I remember thinking, good Lord, we are all sleeping on the obvious. Because while everybody else is busy debating rankings and factions and politics, there stands the bombshell Haley Danielle, a champion in her own right. A force, a strategist, a woman who helped elevate Alex Arsenal to the top of RCW while quietly building dominance herself in places elsewhere. And that catches my attention because, contrary to popular belief, I don't just admire violence, I admire intelligence. And Haley Danielle possesses something rare in wrestling: composure. The ability to command attention without begging for it. And that matters to me. Now imagine this hypothetical little fantasy of mine. Ridley Thorne, Kalientita, Denisse Dae, Haley Danielle. Savage, spicy dream bombs. Sounds less like a wrestling faction and more like something the government warns you about during hurricane season. Now, together, they may be the single greatest collection of women's wrestling talent Texas, RCW, hell, the world can offer, not just because they're talented individually, but because stylistically they complete each other. Ridley brings violence, Callie and Denisse bring swagger and spice, and Haley Danielle brings championship composure. And suddenly, you start seeing something dangerous, because every great story needs a monster, a dragon, a hydra, a seemingly unbeatable force with too many heads and too much power, and in RCW we already have one, the three-headed dragon. The Hydra, the kind of force that keeps growing stronger every time somebody tries to fight it alone. But mythology teaches us something very important, and that is eventually Hercules shows up. Hypothetically speaking, the savage, spicy dream bombs might just be the Hercules this division has been waiting for. Not one hero, not one challenger, an entire force capable of cutting the heads off the Hydra one by one. Power, presence, intelligence, chemistry. The kind of group that doesn't just win championships, they change the atmosphere of an entire company. Now, am I saying they need me? Shh, no. These are accomplished women, champions, stars, forces unto themselves. But if they ever wanted somebody who understands branding, presentation, psychology, momentum, and how to turn talent into legacy, well, I do happen to know an award-winning manager with a pretty decent track record. And unlike certain people in wrestling, I didn't become important because someone handed me a microphone. I became important because I know what greatness looks like before everybody else does. That's the difference. So, no, this isn't a recruitment pitch. This is merely the wandering imagination of Logan Pettis, an old fool, a manager, a strategist, a professional wrestling romantic. But history says when I start seeing patterns, people should probably start paying attention. I'm Logan Pettis, your Texas Wrestling Review Manager of the Year, and you are very, very much